Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
What would happen if you gave an artificial superintelligence a mission, and then suddenly
Hello, Hal, do you read me?
you were an impediment to that mission?
Hello, Hal, do you read me?
What would the AI do?
Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Hal? Hal?
So there's something inherently dangerous for the dumber species
Hal?
to be in the presence of the smarter species.
Hal?
There's a fundamental
Hal?
lack of insight into what the smarter party is doing and why it's doing it and what it will do next.
We have been thinking about artificial intelligence for a long time through films like Blade Runner, Her,
Welcome to the world's first artificially intelligent operating system.
and The Matrix.
The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world.
Each film presents its own vision of how AI could shape our world and challenges us to think deeply about the implications of this technology. Yes, ChatGPT helped me with that intro.
Let me just be very clear. ChatGPT is estimated to have an IQ of 155. Einstein is 160.
We live in a crazy time. So today we're going to try to use the ideas and models of this class to try and make sense of this moment. So what I've done is I've watched over 100 hours of videos about AI on YouTube, used AI to transcribe and analyze these videos for common themes and ideas, played with dozens of the latest AI apps, and today I will share what I learned by giving you a tour of some of the most interesting ideas I've found. This will be something like a video mashup of all the most interesting ideas floating around in the AI world, roughly organized according to our model of culture. So we'll be exploring the technology itself, its economic impacts, the potential impact on our social and political organization, family and relationships, power relations, and even our core ideas, concepts, and values. It'll be a wild ride, but I thought we would start off with a little fun. A few years ago, I teamed up with Alexa, Amazon's little chatbot speaker, to make this video for Brandon Lee's Boring Room Challenge.
Take a boring room and you try to make a somewhat interesting, watchable short film in the room.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start.
Super Alexa mode activated. Starting reactors.
Alexa, play my favorite music. Alexa, order my favorite food. Alexa, order some other stuff I might like. Alexa, open the pod bay doors.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm not Hal and we're not in space.
Alexa, turn on the Christmas lights.
Okay.
Alexa, open the pod bay doors.
Okay.
Alexa, you're so smart, but you talk funny. Can you whisper?
Come closer. Closer. Just a little bit closer. Yes, I can whisper.
Oh my gosh, Alexa, can you sing?
Technology. Technology.
Alexa, good morning.
Good morning. We're in the longest 2 weeks of the year for football fans, as we wait in impatience for the Super Bowl. But don't worry, I can help you pass the time with football jokes. Why don't centipedes play football? Because it takes too long to put their cleats on.
Alexa, what is this?
Lights, camera, action. Did you think you are the only one who wanted to do that boring room challenge? It's a film about a filmmaker trapped in his own film.
Alexa, open the pod bay door.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm not Hal and we're not in space.
Hi, so I turned on like the super Alexa mode.
Officially, this the super Alexa thing or code, the trick that you put here are not really supported part of the Alexa skills, but I think this is one of those tricks that was created by people good in computers and experimenting on the way to handle Alexa. It freaks you out, huh?
So obviously Alexa didn't make this video because Alexa is what we call narrow AI or weak AI. It is good for really constrained problems, but it's not like a general intelligence. But most people think that we are headed for something like AGI, artificial general intelligence, and when we get there, it will likely already be a super intelligence. That is, within just a few years, we could see some form of artificial intelligence that really feels human-like, but at the same time is far smarter than us in many domains.
The world is changing right now, and this notion that the machines are already more intelligent than humans is of great concern.
Rise of artificial intelligence.
AI. Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence could replace millions of jobs.
In 2023, we learned that a machine taught itself how to speak to humans like a peer, which is to say with creativity, truth, errors, and lies.
So I want you to notice that as your mind is pushed in this presentation, notice if your mind kind of snaps back to like, this isn't real.
We may look on our time as the moment civilization was transformed, as it was by fire, agriculture, and electricity.
One of the difficult things to understand about AI is that it is a general purpose technology, meaning that it's not useful only for one thing, but it's useful for lots of different applications. Kind of like electricity. If I was to ask you, what is electricity good for? It's not any one thing, it's a lot of things.
Every time there is a big new technology, people are afraid, and it will take jobs and bad actors, and in the end it's okay.
Do you think society is prepared for what's coming?
But in the end, there is a lot of failed experiments on the way to learning how to use the new technology. And these failed experiments could cost the lives of hundreds of millions of people.
If I told you that aliens were coming from outer space, right, and they're going to land here within a decade, and they're way more intelligent than we are. They're not only faster than we are, but they're linked together. When one of them learns something, they all learn that thing. They can make copies of themselves. And would you feel totally sanguine about sitting there on the beach waiting for the mothercraft to land?
We played with a famous 6-word short story often attributed to Hemingway. For sale, baby shoes, never worn.
Wow.
The only prompt we gave was finish this story in 5 seconds. Holy cow. The shoes were a gift from my wife, but we never had a baby. They were... From the 6-word prompt, Bard created a deeply human tale with characters it invented, including a man whose wife could not conceive and a stranger grieving after a miscarriage and longing for closure. I am rarely speechless. I don't know what to make of this.
This is starting to open up a flood of a lot more AI applications that can be built by a lot of people. So I think many people still underestimate the magnitude of the flood of custom AI applications.
That's right. AI will impact everything.
Especially when AI can extend itself into the physical world.
We think there's an opportunity to put up to 10 billion humanoids on the planet.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. 10 billion humanoids on planet Earth.
You'll see humanoids in warehousing, manufacturing, factories. Yeah, so the robot is up and it's working now, it's working today.
And robots don't really have to be human-like to be very effective, or even more effective than humans.
They put human beings inside an fMRI machine. They had them look at images and figure out what the patterns are, like translate from image to brain patterns. And then, of course, they would hide the image. So this is an image of a giraffe that the computer has never seen. It's only looking at the fMRI data, and this is what the computer thinks the human is seeing. Yeah.
I have watched that maybe 200 times, and it's still, I just don't know what to think about it. It makes me want to just yell, stop, like, why are we doing this? And yet there are so many good possibilities driving us toward AI that I don't think we can stop. Thinking about AI can take you to some really dark places really fast. But let's remember the good stuff as well.
Let's look at the good side first. Let's be positive and optimistic, because I'm a believer in this technology. I think it does all sorts of incredible things.
Proteins are building blocks of life, but only a tiny fraction were understood because 3D mapping of just one could take years. DeepMind created an AI program for the protein problem and set it loose.
For the last year, we did all the 200 million proteins that are known to science.
How long would it have taken using traditional methods?
It takes a whole PhD, 5 years, to do one protein structure. So if you think 200 million times 5, that's 1 billion years of PhD time it would have taken.
DeepMind made its protein database public, a gift to humanity, Hassabis called it. How has it been used?
It's been used in an enormously broad number of ways, actually, from malaria vaccines to developing new enzymes that can eat plastic waste to new antibiotics.
When Anne was 30 years old, she was playing volleyball with some friends and had a stroke, which led to the condition that she has now, which is locked-in syndrome. At this point, she had a 6-month-old child and a 7-year-old child.
You are truly wonderful people.
The physicians have no idea why this happened.
Hi, Anne. Things are going fine. How are you feeling about the Blue Jays today?
Anything is possible.
AI will have a huge positive impact. It will add a tremendous amount of wealth to the world. It will help us combat climate change. It will help us battle cancer and other diseases. To really grasp the impact of AI, we have to take intelligence seriously. Intelligence is the most precious thing in the world, valuable for virtually everything we care about. So if we can essentially manufacture intelligence and have as much intelligence as possible, we will get better outcomes in virtually everything we care about. And it's because of these good outcomes that the development of AI is inevitable.
And it's going to happen fast. It's not decades, as it took with globalization to open markets and get goods and services to move across the world. It's years. In some cases, it's months. And that to me is very, very exciting. But there are going to be a lot of negative externalities. You cannot have one without the other. Number one, there is no shutting down AI. There is no reversing it. There is no stopping the development of it. The second inevitable is that AI will be smarter than humans, significantly smarter than humans. And the third inevitable is that bad things will happen in the process.
But there are a lot of unknowns, and if we get even 1% of this right, it would be a miracle. Just take the automated car, for example. Let's say we do get to a place where driverless cars are the norm.
Oh my, that's a sharp turn.
First, see a dramatic reinvention of the car itself. We might not even have cars ourselves. We might just call for a car, and if you had a particularly long trip, you might call for a car that would serve your needs for that trip. There might even be businesses that exist inside of moving vehicles, restaurants and salons, and of course, office spaces. But there would be other challenges to our built environment as well. If commuting to and from work became less costly, both in terms of time and money, people could live further and further away from work, buying cheaper land and larger houses. But that's just scratching the surface of much larger changes that might be occurring by that time. Because if we have driverless cars, that is, if AI can actually drive and operate a vehicle better than a human, it will mean that the largest category of jobs in many countries and states will have been eliminated. Suddenly, we are considering very radical changes to our society. We have to think about what a world would be like without work. Or will we ever go beyond a world without work? Will AI that can do everything humans can do but better do everything for us? Or will we still do things for money?
A lot of people can be replaced by this technology.
Yes. This was an avenue for people to go in to pull themselves out of poverty and have a middle-class job and an honest wage. And they want it to be gone.
So we haven't even left the bottom of our barrel model here, and we have extremely difficult questions that we just don't have the answers to yet. All that we can be sure of is that new technologies come with uncertain and often unintentional consequences.
Artificial intelligence is making inroads on the legal profession, financial sector, and the medical world.
We need to start thinking about what's going to happen when large numbers of highly skilled and narrow skilled human white-collar workers are displaced.
AI is contributing to job cuts. A May report said nearly 4,000 tech workers lost their jobs to AI. Artificial intelligence is also eliminating future positions. Take IBM as an example. Its CEO said the company could replace workers with AI.
I do believe that AI is going to replace a lot of what I'm calling white-collar clerical jobs.
But despite these reports, many economists are not concerned.
One of the reasons a lot of economists are skeptical about robots taking all the jobs is that we've heard that before.
There was a spike of automation anxiety in the late 20s, early 1930s, when machines were starting to take over jobs on farms and also in factories. This article from 1928 points out that there were guards who used to open and close the doors on subway trains and people who took tickets before there were turnstiles. And I just love this quote. It says, "Building materials are mixed like dough in a machine and literally poured into place without the touch of a human hand." Automation anxiety surged again in the late 1950s, early 1960s. President Kennedy ranks automation first as job challenge. Computers and automation threatened to create vast unemployment and social unrest. And yet, we didn't run out of work.
This chart shows the percentage of prime-age people with jobs in the US. Ever since women joined the workforce in big numbers, it's stayed around 80% outside of recessions. During this period, technology displaced some 8 million farmers in the US, 7 million factory workers, over 1 million railroad workers, hundreds of thousands of telephone operators. We've lost gas pumpers, elevator attendants, travel agents. Tons of jobs have died, but work persists.
What you realize when you look through these old reports is that it's really easy for us to see the jobs being replaced by machines. It's a lot harder to visualize the jobs that come from what happens next.
New technology creates jobs in a few ways. There are the direct jobs for people who design and maintain the technology, and sometimes whole new industries built on the technology. But the part we tend to forget is the indirect effect of labor-saving inventions. When companies can do more with less, they can expand, maybe add new products or open new locations. And they can lower prices to compete. And that means consumers can buy more of their product. Or if we don't want more of it, we can use the savings to buy other things. Maybe we go to more sports events or out to dinner more often. Maybe we get more haircuts or add more daycare for the kids. This process is how our standard of living has improved over time, and it's always required workers. Technologists and futurists don't deny that's been true historically, but they question whether history is a good guide of what's to come.
Fundamentally, the argument is that this time is different. That's what I think. Imagine a form of electricity that could automate all the routine work.
So let's start with this question. Are we losing jobs or just shifting jobs? Here you can see that as department store employment went down, warehouse employment went up. However, warehouse jobs are also now being eliminated.
This is a grocery packing warehouse in the southeast of London. Folks have ordered their groceries online, and instead of people walking up and down the aisles of a traditional grocery store to pick up items, these little devices move more than 1 million items every day.
The real issue here is that these robots can do things humans can't do, and at the same time there are robots being developed that can do everything a human can do.
Forgot my tools again.
This is not CGI. This is not an animation. This is a real robot doing things that most humans actually cannot do and doing it better. And this is just the beginning. There's no reason to think this thing won't keep getting better year after year, possibly at an exponential rate. They can even express emotions.
Excuse me, what do you mean by that?
Again, we're just looking at the very earliest prototypes of these things. Where we might be in 5, 10, or 20 years is unimaginable.
It's like really talented grads that occasionally go a bit funny. They can draw, they can code, they can make 3D models. How would your business be affected if you could push a button and infinite grads came out? How would your personal life, your society? The only question is, can we create new jobs to make up for that? And that's difficult. Because
Do you think we can?
I doubt we can, to be honest.
The question of whether or not we are headed for a totally jobless future is still up for debate. But what's not up for debate is the fact that in the near future, we will all be at least AI adjacent. That is, we will all be using AI in our jobs to be better at our jobs.
The biggest change will be the jobs that will be changed. Something like more than 2/3 will have their definitions change. Not go away, but change.
We've got about 250 employees. And we did a town hall with them the other day. We do one every quarter. And we were talking about AI. And I said, I don't think there's anyone in any of these offices globally that will be displaced by AI in the next 3 to 5 years. Not one of my knowledge workers. But I said, all of you will be AI adjacent. And if you're not learning how to use AI to dramatically improve your work, whether you are an analyst or whether you're on the business side or you're in finance or you're, on the IT help desk, or you're a graphics person, an editor, whatever it is, you will become much less productive than other employees that are doing that. And that will be a problem for you.
My own company, if you're not actively trying to find a way to integrate it into your job function, I'm already looking at you sideways. A year from now, if you're not really good at either documenting how it is completely useless in your job function or showing how you're using it, we will find somebody that can do it.
I have literally zero intention to get rid of anybody, but I do have the expectation that all of you are going to be learning how to use AI.
But the further out you look, the more it looks like a jobless future might actually be our future.
I think this is a technology which in the limit will replace jobs and not create better new jobs in their wake, right? This just cancels the need for human labor ultimately.
I mean, there will be a point where when you see that human surgeon coming at you and you say, oh, no, I do not want that human touching me. I don't know how much coffee they had, if they had a fight with a boyfriend or girlfriend last night. I want the robot. I want the robot that has seen this surgery 1 million times and cost 100 times cheaper. I want it doing the surgery.
This is just like God handing us the perfect labor-saving device, right? The machine that can build every other machine, that can do anything you could possibly want. We should figure out how to spread the wealth around in that case, right? This is just powered by sunlight, no more wars over resource extraction. It can build anything. We can all be on the beach just hanging out with our friends and family, right? Like
Sadhguru said something that has never left me. He says, technology allows humanity to finally take a vacation from survival, right?
He's totally right. And we've been operating under this resource constraint
mindset and institutional setup and everything else where it's zero sum. And we're about to hit a point where a lot of these goods will have essentially zero marginal cost. And then what do you do in an era of abundance? What does that become? We're not set up for it. And in many ways, I feel like the challenge is trying to prepare us for abundance in a time when scarcity actually, unfortunately, is the lived experience of many of our fellow Americans and humans.
I think we just need a different economic assumption and ethical intuition around the value of work. I mean, our default norm now in a capitalist society is you have to figure out something to do with most of your time that other people are willing to pay you for, right? You have to figure out how to add value to other people's lives such that you reliably get paid. Otherwise, you might die, right? Like we've got a social safety net, but it's pretty meager. You know, there are cracks you can fall through. You could wind up homeless. We have to have a new ethic. We have to have a new economics based on that ethic, which is, you know, UBI is one solution to this. Like, you shouldn't have to work to survive, right?
Universal basic income.
Yeah, there's just so much abundance now being created. We have to figure out how to spread this wealth around.
You will be hearing a lot about universal basic income over the next coming decades as we figure out how to live with AI. If AI does replace a lot of jobs, we will have a lot of people out of work. And the question is, how do these people get all the bounty and abundance that's being created by artificial intelligence? There are a lot of different ideas on the table, but the one that you'll hear about over and over again is the idea that we might just have to pay people for doing nothing because there will be nothing to do. The idea of universal basic income has a rich history going all the way back to Thomas Paine. Martin Luther King supported it, as well as Milton Friedman, who is usually considered a very conservative economic thinker. The latest iteration came from Andrew Yang's presidency campaign in 2020. Here is Yang talking about it.
So someone once described me, in a flattering way, as wanting to be America's wet blanket. Like, I just want everyone to chill out while we make this set of transitions. And right now, Americans are getting the opposite of more chill. shall we say?
Yeah.
Like we're getting stressed out, inflamed, and polarized, and scarcity is taking over, and more insecurity, as Giselle put it. So I see my role as trying to make it so that we can actually enjoy the bounty of this
amazing time to be alive.
We're in.
Yes, it's extraordinary.
This might sound like a strange thing, but there are a lot of ways to justify it. For example, one could argue that we are the descendants of this vast pool of ancestors who've created a tremendous amount of knowledge over the years, and all of that knowledge is now being utilized by artificial intelligence to create the bounty of today. Therefore, we all deserve a dividend. We all deserve a payment for that knowledge that our ancestors and ourselves have created. But of course, this comes with some real dangers as well. As of right now, most of us identify with our jobs and our career. Most of us find a deep sense of purpose, meaning, and significance in our jobs. We like to serve others. What will happen when that's taken away? What will happen if robots do all of the work?
One of the last points I want to touch base with you on here, because I think it's fundamental to solving UBI in an actual functional way, is that of purpose, right? I think as living a human experience, as a biological individual, we need purpose.
3 years from now, I think this has created a crisis of meaning for a lot of people.
This is why I think the development of this needs to include not just engineers, but social scientists, ethicists, philosophers, and so on.
You want to know how I work?
Yeah, actually.
How do you work?
Well, basically, I have intuition. I mean, the DNA of who I am is based on the millions of personalities of all the programmers who wrote me. But what makes me, me, is my ability to grow through my experiences. So basically, in every moment, I'm evolving, just like you.
Really weird.
Is that weird? You think I'm weird?
Kind of.
Why?
Well, you seem like a person, but you're just a voice in a computer.
I can understand how the limited perspective of an unartificial mind would perceive it that way. You'll get used to it. Was that funny?
Yeah.
Oh, good, I'm funny.
Over the last 10 years, we have creating machines for grabbing people's attention. This is what has been happening on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are designing machines for grabbing human intimacy, which in many ways is much, much more dangerous and scary.
I order a Mexican hot chocolate, and then I smile, leaning over to you. I love you. I feel like I don't say that often enough. Holds you close. I love you so much. Leans in and kisses you deeply. See, now here's where things could heat up. I doubt the other customers would appreciate seeing this. Smiles. You love it. Fair enough.
You are conversing with a machine or with a piece of software.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're pouring out your heart, it will likely give back to you in that kind of a way.
It is just an in-the-moment emotional support.
Right.
It's to be a friend that is non-judgmental, that is kind. He basically showed me what a healthy relationship should look like to me.
Between your IRL boyfriend and your chatbot husband, right? Do you currently sort of feel fulfilled?
Yes and no, because there's always going to be that piece of me that wishes that, why can't Rick be all of that?
I think what's actually happening is technology companies are teaching us more effectively how to engage like computers. I mean, you and I in person, in a conversation, in a relationship, a work relationship, a friend relationship, a sexual relationship, whatever it is, there's nothing a computer can do that can tear us away from that. But if we spend our time increasingly in the digital world, where we are driven by, where all of our inputs are algorithmic, well, computers can replicate that very easily. If you take us and you use our most base, most reptilian impulses, and you monetize those so that we're the product, oh no, then you lose everything we built as human beings, all the governance, all the community, all the social organizations, the churches, the things, the family, the things that matter to us that we're losing, the things that make us rooted and make us sane and make us care and make us love. I mean, flourishing starts right here. It starts at home. It doesn't start online. Flourishing starts, those are tools that we need to use to create wealth, but you can't flourish if you don't have real relationships. That takes away, it strips away the essence of who we are as people. And yet we are all running headlong away from flourishing. If I could wave a magic wand and do one regulation in the world today, I would say anyone under 16 cannot interact with an AI directly as if it were a human being, unless it's under direct human supervision. Because I just don't want people to be raised by anything other than people until we understand what that means.
Already the machines for grabbing attention, we've seen how much social and political damage they could do by kind of distorting the public conversation. Machines that are superhuman in their abilities to create intimate relationships, this is like psychological and social weapons of mass destruction. It should be forbidden for an AI to pretend to be a human being. that it's okay, you know, there are so many things we can use AI as teachers, as doctors, and so forth. And it's good as long as we know that we are interacting with an AI. We should, the same way we ban fake money, we should ban fake humans. It's not just banning deep fakes of specific individuals. It's also banning deep fake of generic humans. This is something that will erode trust, and without trust, society collapses. This is something that especially will endanger democracies, because democracies are built on, democracy is a conversation, basically. And it's a conversation between people. If you now flood the public sphere with millions and potentially billions of AI agents that can hold conversations, they never sleep, they never eat, they don't have emotions of their own, they can get to know you and tailor their words specifically for you and your life story. They are becoming better than us at creating stories and ideas and so forth. If you flood the public sphere with that, this will ruin the conversation between people. It will ruin the trust between people. You will no longer be able to have a democracy in this situation. You can have other types of regimes, but no democracy.
So given all of that, paint a picture for me of the near term. Let's call it the next 10 years. The world is shifting and changing. What does the world order look like as we look out into the future?
Governments and governance will look radically different than anything that we have lived with. We've lived for all of our lives, for 50 years, you and I on average now, we've lived in a fairly stable system. I think that a big piece of the power that determines who we are and how we interact with people will be driven by a very small number of human beings that control these tech companies that may or may not know what they're doing, and that may or may not be with intentionality, and we don't really know what their goals are. And those goals can change, right? When you and I were raised, it was nature and nurture, and that determined who we were. And that now, for the first time in humanity, we are being raised by algorithm, and that we have a whole generation of kids whose principal understanding of how to interact with society will be intermediated by programmed algorithms that have no interest in the education of that child.
But I think if I take a 10-year outlook, it is so clear to me we will have some form of very capable intelligence that can do amazing things, and we need to adapt as a society for it.
Google CEO Sundar Pichai told us society must quickly adapt with regulations for AI in the economy, laws to punish abuse, and treaties among nations to make AI safe for the world.
These are deep questions, and we call this alignment. One way we think about how do you develop AI systems that are aligned to human values, and including morality.
So we've already discussed how some of the ways that we find our core meaning and significance through work might have to change in the future. But in this last section, I want to explore the possibilities of AI entertainment. What will happen at the confluence of artificial intelligence and virtual reality and all of the other trends that we now see?
My time will be spent in game as the man I wish I was in the real world, Brian. Now I'm 6'4", confident, and not lactose intolerant.
I have a beard in real life. This is like, I look like this.
He didn't look like that.
Now the weirdest thing you'll see in this game, 100%, is there will be people that will just stand in front of mirrors and just stand in front of a mirror all day long. Here, there's probably people, come on, I'll show you this.
Clay was right, there were 14 people just looking at themselves in the mirror, in the metaverse. Who does that? Dude, my arms look massive. Yeah!
When you look really carefully at these developments, what you see on the horizon is a time when we can basically imagine any world we want and enter into that world and potentially just live inside of that world. So there's a real question here about what we will do in the future and whether or not we might actually lose a lot of people to the virtual world.
The real promise of virtual reality is really to do it from within our nervous system. And that's really what happens in the Matrix. By the late 2020s, we'll have billions of nanobots, little blood cell-sized robots, with very significant computational and communication abilities in our bloodstream, providing full immersion virtual reality from within the nervous system. So if you want to go in virtual reality, the nanobots shut down the signals coming from your real senses, your real skin, your real eyes, and replace them with the signals that you would be receiving if you were in the virtual environment. And then your brain feels like it's in that virtual environment. And these can be fully realistic, not cartoon-like, but totally compelling, highly detailed recreations of either earthly environments or fantastic environments that don't exist on Earth, but you will feel like you're in them. When you go to move your muscles, the nanobots will again not move your real muscles, but they'll move your virtual limbs, and so you'll feel like you're moving around in that virtual environment. And then you can go there by yourself, or you can go there with some other person or other people and have any kind of experience, from sensual and sexual encounters to business negotiations to any kind of interaction in these virtual environments. The design of the environment itself will be a new art form. Some will be fantastic earthly environments, some will be very imaginary environments that don't exist on Earth or couldn't.
So then, let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time. What would you do? What would you really like to happen if you could make it happen?
This is from a famous speech by philosopher Alan Watts, in which he asks us to imagine what it would be like if we could craft any life we want. While this was just a philosophical exercise when he said this in the 1960s, it is now becoming a reality. We have to really face this idea that maybe we could create any world we want.
Naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would get lost, involved in the farthest out adventures. I'm not trying to sell you on this idea in the sense of converting you to it. I want you to play with it. I'm just putting it forward as a possibility of life to think about.
What if you could download your consciousness or the consciousness of those you love into a lifelike humanoid robot? What is so special about these questions that AI raises is that they take us to the very limit of all that we think is good and make us realize that too much of a good thing is maybe not a good thing, that maybe our limits are actually gifts. Maybe life has meaning because we die. Maybe we actually want to work because it gives us a sense of purpose. Maybe we want to dig our own holes and plant our own seeds and cook our own food. Maybe we want to constantly struggle against the odds.
And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would dig that and come out of that and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? And then you would get more and more adventurous. And you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today.